Okay.
That's what you got to look at. It is like, I'm just growing to the next level. If there's new problems, that means I have elevated.
So
Fucking live life with a cheat code. Make a choice. Be a champion.
So Chad, wanted to talk to you today about failure. And not just your everyday failure that we run into, but specifically failure that fighters go through. And this could be applied to anything. Recently, there was a fight, right? One of your fighters competed, and this happens all the time, where a guy prepares for months on end, and he's busting his ass. He's probably sacrificing time with his family. He's probably sacrificing pay. You know, as everybody knows, this sport doesn't pay that much to begin with. So, I mean, it's really a passion thing. And to give up all that time and all that energy and to lose in a manner that's, you know, quite frankly, from the outside looking in, it could be humiliating, it could be embarrassing, it could be like you're winning the fight and then all of a sudden a punch or a kick comes out of nowhere and knocks you out, and, you know, in front of all these people. I mean, how do you get over that kind of investment and that kind of result?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing to acknowledge is that anytime one of those situations happen, like when our guy, we lost in 14 seconds in you know, one of the biggest fights of his career in Bellator.
Yeah.
And you know, we can look at this and be like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. But I think the way to get over failure is understanding that the results, whether your hand is raised or something detrimental happens like as fast as it did, that it's all about what comes next, right? It's the process. If you did everything you could leading up to that, and maybe you just got caught. I've been on the opposite end of that as well. Yeah. I've had fights where I went in there and I was ready I was an underdog, I was ready to shock the world, and I ended up proving everybody right. What the statistics said, what the rankings said, what the media said. And then it's like, we want to beat ourselves up internally. In fact, there's times where like when we were in the locker room this weekend where my athlete was saying, man, I feel like I should be beating myself up. It's like, that's a choice that we're making because we're conditioned to tell ourselves that we're supposed to feel this way when something bad happens. No, what we should do is, okay, did I get better because of this camp? Yes. Fantastic, I'm already winning. Did I get the results I wanted? No. Okay, why? Let's go back, let's review everything. What can we do to make sure that exact same thing doesn't happen the next time? So we get back on the horse and believe in the process, because it's really the process that we need to fall in love with, not the results, because the process that leads us to something is what allows us to change and develop who we're gonna be, what our level of excellence can even grow into. It's the process. It's got nothing to do with that. You might be able to go out and fight. Let's say you're the guy that didn't train for shit. You go out there, boom, you knock that guy out. Now you think that that's the way you approach those fights. You approach it, well, like, I don't have to train. I'm knocking everybody out.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when it doesn't happen that way? Now you're gassed, and now all of a sudden you have this false illusion of what you're capable of.
Yeah.
So you got to go back to the drawing board, and it's also very important to have the right people around you that to build you up and let you see that you are not what the results say, right? You know what you put into work. Your team knows what you put in. The people close around you know what you put in. You have to believe that you are more than whatever that time clock was on when that fight ended. So, I mean, it really comes down to making sure that you know who you are, what you've done. If you did everything you could to get to that moment, and the results are going to be the results. That's the thing about the fight game, you know? It's any man's moment. And with those small gloves and kicks and knees and elbows, it can be changed in a flash of a second.
You know, from the outside looking in, it's obviously as someone who hasn't fought, you know, it would seem so disheartening to me that somebody could put that much time and effort into something and then just lose like that. But, you know, when I hear your explanation on how to deal with it, it makes me feel like even in that situation where it's almost as if the planets aligned against you and some fluke thing happened, there's still something you can gather from that and improve going forward.
I mean, think about it. All the greats of any industry, business, sports, whatever it is, they've all been through so many moments where it's like, this is the end of it. And they were able to crawl themselves out of that hole and then be able to make something incredible. You know, like even for me, when I was doing art, I had a cartoon that I'd been working on for a very long, 4.5 years. 4.5 years that I worked on this thing, and we had letdown after letdown. Finally, I had one letdown happen that I was just like, I can't make my guys go through this anymore. So we dropped the project.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking back on it, and I'm looking at the fact that my span of my career is 15 years. I mean, look at anything. Like, do the math on that.
Yeah.
I spent 15 years working to achieve something in this industry. 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be 38 years old this, and it's almost half my life that I've spent trying to achieve this. And even to where I'm at now, I feel like it's going to take me another 15 years just to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Did I reach the pinnacle of what I wanted when I first started? Probably not. But things evolve, things change because you stay on the grind. I let go of one dream that I gave in at 4.5 years ago. Now do the math on that. Yeah. What's the difference? Like, I gave up on something 4.5 years in, but then I gave something 15. Like, imagine it. Maybe if I would have kept on to that one for another 11 years. Like, the only time you fail is when you quit.
These devastating fluke-like setbacks, they apply to everyday life, right? I mean, I'm glad you brought up your art business and everything else, because, when I think about it, I think of, as a lawyer, I think of the bar exam, right? And, you go through, the 4 years at college, and then you do the 3 years of law school, and then you go into this bar exam, and they're scaring the shit out of you the whole time, and you're prepping and you're studying every single day for months. And then, to go in there and fail that, I mean, I remember the pressure of that. Luckily, I didn't fail, but there was a high percentage of people that fail, and there still are. And, I was thinking to myself, I remember taking the exam and seeing somebody run up to the front of the room and vomit and then come back to their chair. It's just so much on the line, so much pressure. And for you to fail from that is just like so devastating. This translates into anything you do in life.
I'm going to cut you off a little bit. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But think about this. If you didn't fail the way you did, and you felt as strongly as you did about it, you probably wouldn't have made adjustments that made you go like even harder towards it. Like the most detrimental failures we have are usually if you let it become the catalyst for what's going to propel you to where like you can really do something special.
What do you tell to the people though that, for example, failed that exam, or the guys who did get knocked out despite maybe they were beating the shit out of their opponent, kind of like in your guy's situation, and then all of a sudden something comes out of nowhere and just it ends their night. What do you say to somebody like that in that moment? Do you give them time to calm down? I mean, what do you do there?
It's one of those things is you got to remember that what makes people special, what makes champions, what makes legends, it's not the guys that were saying, hey, I had an easy path. It's really the guys that decided, okay, everything's stacked against me and I'm going to keep going. I'm afraid of what's going to happen. I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to listen to the people that are telling me I can quit. I'm going to keep going. So it's really a matter of your own choice of what you do in that moment. So you got to slow it down. So when that time comes, okay, this is not going for me. This is actually something I'm really stressed out about. So slow it down and decide to keep pushing no matter what happens after. Okay, I failed this test. Okay, doesn't mean I'm going to quit. So then I have to make the adjustments and then do it again.
Here's my $1 million question, and I'll let you go after this one. At any point, does that stress or does that madness lit up as you continue on your journey to the pinnacle of whatever it is you want to do? Does that ever stop?
No. I think every level that you grow to, there's new monsters and new fears that are going to be generated every time you take a step forward, because what happens is that you're afraid of the unknown. You're afraid of the things that you don't know how to have an answer to. So every time you grow, there's new questions that you didn't know that needed to be asked. So if you didn't know how to ask those questions, you didn't know what answers you needed. So every time we grow, there's going to be, it's like a video game. Like every time you get to a new level, there's a new boss that's going to be harder than the one before.
Wow. Okay.
That's what you got to look at it as. Like, I'm just growing to the next level. If there's new problems, that means I have elevated.
So
fucking live life with a cheat code. Hey guys, if you like this episode, follow the podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel.